The topic that was asked or assigned to me is the impact of technology in generating ideas. And that's what we'll talk about. Generating ideas now. Let's talk about disruption. Have you guys heard of this concept, surprise-free future? Herman Kahn, he's a futurist. He came up with this back in the 1980s or mid-70s, early 80s. And the concept of surprise-free future is that it talks about much anticipated shifts that never arrive on schedule. Meaning, people have had an idea about something that might happen. They convince themselves that it will not arrive or it will not happen. But when it happens, because it does, but later on, they were not surprised, but they were not prepared. Quick examples will be the fall of communism. So you probably remember in your history, the Cold War, US versus USSR, and for the longest time, everyone thought that it was going to be an ongoing thing. But somebody already predicted that communism will fail, that system of government is not sustainable, and it happened. And the same thing with the rise of China. This is a paper back in the 70s, which predicted that China will later on become a superpower. And in which generation did it happen? In yours. And the internet is actually one of that. It's a good example of a surprise-free future because the concept of the internet is not new. People have been talking about a network of networks back in the 50s pa lang. And yet, when the internet became mainstream, a lot of companies were not prepared for it. I guess that's why we're here. That's why we have a job. Because part of that job is to help them understand it. And if you've seen the change, it's actually very drastic. There was a time when we talk about technology or digital, it's very much mainframe, where you talk about computers the size of a cabinet, where you need the whole room to fill in that computer. But with the birth of the World Wide Web, things eventually changed. And technology or digital is now seen as a marketing channel, similar to TV, print, and radio. And now, thanks to mobile and other forms of connected technology, it's actually a persistent layer in our everyday lives. So now we are so dependent on our mobile. I remember, and this has been going for a couple of years already, people during Holy Week would actually post that they will go on a Facebook fast. At what point in our history has Facebook been equated to, when you say fasting traditionally, what does it mean? Abstain from eating and drinking. So now, for you guys, Facebook is equal to that. Or baka mas importante pa. Or other social media activities. But that's the reality right now. And technology, or disruption rather, really is a game changer. It has changed things. This is a description from the book, The Clue Train Manifesto, back in 2000. And it describes how the internet has actually empowered all of us. People are discovering and inventing new ways to share relevant knowledge with blinding speed. As a direct result, markets are getting smarter and getting smarter faster than most companies. This was the realization when the internet became mainstream. We were all empowered. And because of that, we can access information directly. We were not relying on third parties. It made us faster and faster than most companies. And it is continuous. So this is a cabinet-size hard drive, and it's 5 megabytes. Well, back in 2011, we had a 256 gigabyte flash drive, and most of the laptops now are not hard drive based, pero flash drive based na. And things continuously progress. If you look at the history of digital, and it's divided into 4 eras. The first era is the internet era. This is back in the 90s. During the time, the early days of the internet, everything was one way. As in, everything was one way. You could not come up with your own content. Things changed in the social media age, in the mid-2000s, because then, that time, everyone was empowered. Because of social media, we became not just an audience, but became content creators. You don't just watch videos, you can actually upload your own. And because of that, we have YouTube stars like si Justin Bieber, si Charisse Pempenko. You don't just read articles, you can comment, or not just comment, you can come up with your own. You can come up with your own through a blog, like on Blogger or WordPress. Because of blogging, we have the likes of Anton Diaz, who started our awesome planet. Anton Diaz used to be employed in PNG. He was one of the early bloggers that really focused on the quality of his content. It came to the point na he was earning more from his blog than his day job. So now it's a full-time business because of that. And then of course there's social networking site. But you know what? We are not in the social media age anymore. We are now in the collaborative economy age. In the social media age, what got disrupted was media and communications. Disruption here, media, before sila lang yung content creators, but now all of us. But in the collaborative economy age, what got disrupted are other industries already. So we talk about Uber. Uber disrupted the transportation industry. Airbnb disrupted the accommodations and hotel industry. Can you just imagine 10 years ago, imposible yung concept of me riding a stranger's car and expecting that stranger to bring me from my point A to point B. How much more staying in somebody else's house? We are now here, but we are headed towards the autonomous world age, where you talk about artificial intelligence, you talk about augmented and virtual reality. You've seen the news of the driverless cars. Singapore is already working on launching driverless taxis in 2018. Imagine that, yung mga taxi drivers sa Pilipinas and yung LTFRB are trying to make sense of Uber. The taxi operators nagpo-protest sila sa Uber, not realizing that in a few years, hindi na sila kailangan. The internet penetration has skyrocketed. More and more people are going online. Here in the Philippines, we are at 50% of the population. The speed at which we connect with our mobile device and the apps has crossed a point where we are very comfortable relying on this. I have a friend who is he's a chief. He's now a venture capitalist, and he used to be the chief. He used to be the digital evangelist of Yahoo for the developer network. And he gave a talk and he said, did you know that the processing power of your phones right now is more powerful than the computer that powered the Apollo 11, that brought man from Earth to the moon? There is more processing power here in our phones now. And what do we use it for? Catch Pokemons? Imagine that. So the internet and social media now is one and the same, and we've only just begun because the real growth will only actually arrive. Your generation, you are in this very unique position where you can actually add and contribute to it. And I guess that's why we're here. But we talk about the digital divide first. So the digital divide, it's a term that refers to the gap between, it's a gap between access to technology. And initially, it refers to demographics and regions. But the reality is, the digital divide is not just, it's not just access and cost. Used to be people who have access to technology is limited to developing nations or to developed countries, and yung mga developing don't have access to it, or yung mga organizations and individuals in remote areas, or even people who have less income. But that's not the truth anymore. Almost everyone now has access to technology. And what is now the reality when it comes to the digital divide is yung knowledge and use. Meaning it's possible that technology is there, pero you don't want to use it. So you see that a lot in organizations now where you have mga bossings na matatanda na. To them, they fear it. They have this phobia of using something new. And I'm sure you've seen that with your parents. Now, let's understand innovation. Innovation is the process through which value is created and delivered to a community of users in the form of a new solution. So, it's not invention. No? It doesn't mean creating something new, but it involves looking at things from a new perspective. Looking at something that already exists and trying to make it better. Going back to the point of users first, making it better for the user or for the consumer. So example, this is the first automobile. This is developed by Carl Benz back in 1886. That's an invention. Innovation is Tesla making it affordable for your car to be not run by gasoline but by electricity. So it's not just cheaper, but it's also environment friendly. Another example, the inventor of the World Wide Web, or the internet as we know it, is Tim Berners-Lee. So he was the one who came up with the concept of the internet being able to be seen or graphically accessible for us through websites, through the World Wide Web. So he invented it. But innovation is Mark Zuckerberg seeing the vision of connecting everyone through a social network like Facebook. And Facebook changed the game in social networking. They were not the first, but they changed the game because they were an open system. With Facebook, it was an open system. You can build on their API. Now, being innovative means you challenge the status quo in a market. You look at something that exists and try to see, why are we not doing things better? And that means having a better and deeper understanding of customer needs, which again, you put people first. And then you develop new, imaginative, and maybe unusual solutions. And this is, it actually means looking at data, understanding information so that you will have the knowledge, and from this knowledge you gather insights. So with Airbnb, with Uber, the insight there, when the founders came up with the problem, we need a cab, it's so hard to get a cab. One of the insight there is, you know what? Right here, right now, somebody has a car and they're not using it. It's just parked somewhere. What if there is a way for us to interconnect that, where we bring unutilized cars and be able to be used by others who need it right now? Then there was innovation or wisdom. Innovation creates a positive impact and it usually drives growth. It improves current platforms and processes. In other words, it gets us to think different. I hope if there's one thing that you can get out of this presentation is that your generation is one of has so much potential, so much opportunity with technology, with the internet. You just need to be able to understand how it works, regardless of which industry you'll go, whether you'll come up with your own business or you're in marketing or advertising. But you try to think different. And I'll wrap up with this, technology and new ideas. Some quick examples. Give me 5 more minutes and I'm done. This is a slide that was shown in a recent conference, and it shows here how the disruption has already happened. So Uber is the world's largest taxi company, and it owns no taxis. Airbnb is the largest accommodation provider, and it owns no real estate. The largest phone companies own no telco infrastructure, and we have Skype and WeChat. Of course, Facebook is the most popular media owner, and they create no content. And so on and so forth. But what I'm trying to say is that technology will only continue to grow, and the opportunity to innovate will only be there. I'll show you some quick examples of technology and innovation.
South Korea is a unique market. Tesco has been evolving itself, adjusting to the local market. It even changed the name itself from Tesco to Home Plus. And at last, it grew to rank number 2 in Korea. But Tesco had to overcome one obstacle, a fewer number of stores compared to the number 1 company, E-Mart. Mission: could we become number 1 without increasing the number of stores? We made an in-depth study into Koreans once more. Koreans are the second most hardworking people in the world. For them, grocery shopping once a week is a dreaded task. So we decided to approach these busy and tired people. Idea: let the store come to the people. We created virtual stores, hoping to blend into people's everyday lives. Our first try was subway stations. Although virtual, the displays were exactly the same as actual stores, from the display to the merchandise. Only one thing was different. You use smartphones to shop. Scan the QR code with your phone and the product automatically lands in your online cart. When the online purchase is done, it will be delivered to your door right after you get home. People can relax more after work and on weekends.
실제로 보면서 사니까 진짜 더 좋은 것 같아요. 편하기도 하고.
Result: people can shop at Tesco Home Plus wherever they go without having to visit the actual store. Moreover, we could change their waiting time to shopping time. After this campaign, online sales increased tremendously. Through this campaign, 10,287 consumers visited the online Home Plus mall using smartphones. The number of new registered members rose by 76%, and online sales increased 130%. Currently, Home Plus has become number 1 in the online market and is a very close second offline.
The relationship between India and Pakistan is one that has seen a lot of lows.
It's stressful, it's tense.
It seems it's not improving and it's getting worse.
It's only been 60 years that we have been apart. Before that, we were living harmoniously together.
I think all the strife would go away if you took away the barbed wires in the middle of the two countries.
It saddens me that we have this neighbor that we can't even go visit.
They have this perception which they've been ingrained in the head that that's the bad guy. But when they actually meet them, they realize, you know what, he's just like me.
Mainly because there's no communication. They're near us, but we have no access to them. And it's sad, because together I think we would do wonders.
creating an environment where young people can exchange ideas, thoughts, gestures, and take away that communication gap that exists.
If I have any opportunity to go to India, I'll surely go there.
The whole idea of actually touching hands, it's like communicating with each other without words, and that action speaks louder than anything else.
This is what we are supposed to do, right? We are going to take minor steps so that we are going to solve bigger issues.
It is more about, how similar we are as opposed to how different we are.
Togetherness, humanity, this is what we want. More and more exchange.
But the challenge for you and the opportunity for you is you are actually the secret weapon of a lot of companies right now. When you go out into the real world of the unemployed, of whatever industry where you will be, you bring with you this basic understanding of technology. I hope that you will have this understanding of being innovative, of using technology to come up with new ideas. Essentials to innovation, have the passion. You love what you're doing on social, and how will that help you wherever you are? HR, management, collaboration. Technology allows us to connect. There's so much that you can do by working together, by getting new ideas from others. And of course, culture. Embrace the culture of not being boxed in, of always thinking for new ideas, and of course the vision. And I end with this slide. This is a slide of photos taken year on year. And back in 2000, somebody in Kodak got promoted because there was this huge amount increase of analog photos. But after a couple of years, look at what happened. So don't be that person. Do not be that person. Kodak had the opportunity to innovate, but they kept on to their traditional business, not realizing that disruption is just around the corner. And look at that. The increase of analog photos bilang nag-drop, and all photos, and that's what? That's digital now. So don't be that person. And that's just the tip of the iceberg, because that's the only time that we have. Thank you very much.